week. Gonna be back on the 31. Last video, we channeled the body, the cab down, started mocking up the running boards and stuff like that, getting our stance where we wanted it. I did get the tubing ordered for the interior floor, so while that's on its way, we're waiting on that. I'm gonna get the LS mounts out, get them put on the engine, get this engine down in this chassis so we can start seeing where we're at as far as mocking up the firewall, oil pan, all that kind of stuff, where we're going to be. And because I can't really do a whole lot with the the firewall until I know how much recess I've got to build into it, and ground height, intake height, which we're not running this intake. I don't know which one we're going to run yet, but it will not be this one. And then we can start getting our turbo manifolds on and start mocking those up too. So I'm gonna get the LS mounts put on the engine, and then we'll get the hoist, get the engine on the hoist, and get it down in here and see what we got. Now these are the mounts and swap kit that came with our TCI chassis. We just opted for the LS mounts, so hopefully everything goes pretty straightforward with that. All right, guys, we got the 5.3 here, the mock-up engine bolted into the mounts here. Obviously, this truck pan is not going to work. This oil pan, it's way too low, which I knew it wasn't going to anyways. So we'll get that off here soon, and then start thinking about what we want to do as far as the retrofit. Oil pan, a Corvette pan or an F-body pan, something like that will definitely work. So I think what I'm gonna do next though is I've got a 4L60 mock-up transmission, and I think we're going to go that route. I've talked to some companies about building a really high horsepower 4L60, and they seem to think that they can do it, to withhold the power, which would be great because it's a lot lighter than like the 4L80. We definitely want to go automatic. There's just not going to be room for a clutch pedal, in my opinion, with something this high, horsepower, to be able to do that. Hold the horsepower, and be able to drive it, being stick shift. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to dig out this old 4L60 I've got and get it in here and get it mocked up, and then really start to be able to look, sit in there and see what kind of room we may have, foot room. And then I also got my tubing in today, so I'm going to get that stuff opened up and then, start mocking that stuff up. So just one step at a time. But I'll bring you guys back in here in a minute whenever I get this 4L60 ready to get mocked up. All right, guys, got this 4L60 bolted in there. It's really tight, not so much on the passenger side, but the driver's side is really tight with that brake setup. So might be changing that in future, or just making some adjustments to move it a little closer to the frame. We'll see once we get there. This trans is going to go down a little bit lower too once the tail housing's on it. It's got to come down probably another inch or two. That wood block's just kind of in there to hold it up for one, but also I feel like if I build my floor off of where the trans is at now, when the trans does go down to where it needs to go, it's just going to give me just the adequate clearance I need, up in there for the floor. So that's a win on that there. That's what we'll be doing. Obviously, that's just the junkyard, mock-up trans. And then also, the owner of the truck brought up these manifolds he had picked up. We didn't have to use them, just kind of going to see how they would work out, because he got a pretty good deal on them. So, and honestly, they're going to work out perfect. So, and I don't know if I've said too much about in the videos, the ideas about this here, but this, we're going to have, twins, turbos up here, obviously, grill shell, and then the plan is to make the turbos sit exactly where the, or pretty much exactly where the stock headlights would have sat, and they're going to double as not only turbochargers, but the headlights as well. So I picked that idea off of another truck. If I can remember where I found that truck at, I'll put a picture of it in the video, the inspiration behind that. But that's going to be really sick. It's going to be awesome. And with getting that trans up where it goes, it makes the engine fit that much better. Obviously, this right here is just in there for right now to kind of see There's not going to be a tank up here. This is going to be a welded in panel all the way across, and then it'll be completely open at the bottom, and then I'll modify my firewall to work with that. But right now, I mean, the cab's going to come back a little bit more, but then I'm going to be cutting the cab here and widening it this way. So I can't really do much with the firewall yet, not that I need to, but the engine is going to go a little bit more under the firewall because the cab is going to come a little bit more forward. But as of right this minute, I'm going to start. I got my tubing in. I'm going to make this piece first. And it's going to be hard to explain, so I'll just kind of show you. Back here, that is going to weld to the back of the cab, but also it's going to be my first structure piece to my cab floor. And then I'll start working forward, making these pieces, and then the cross pieces that go across to make it, you know, just basically start building out our cab floor from here. So I think once we get the cab, you know, cab's the first thing on the build that really needs to happen. So once the cab is structurally done, we can, you know, work with the back window, start, you know, making my doors, fitting my doors. And then from there, you know, fenders are going to be a lot easier, bed will be a lot easier, but the cab is the main concern right now as far as mock-up goes. Also, I was talking to the owner, and he didn't like this big open area here, and I don't either. I always thought it looked kind of weird on these trucks because it's just so open, and it looks kind of weird. But not that this is exact. Obviously, it needs to be arched a little bit more here. But I just kind of threw something together really quick so I can start, you know, envisioning it. You know, every day I walk in, I kind of look at it and see if there's anything I want to, you know, more ideas, I guess, is the creative process of it. So this here is kind of on the tune of where we're wanting to be, and it'll look better once it's actually, you know, arched the right way and the right size wheels and tires and all that are on it. But you get kind of an idea of what we're going for here on this here. Everything's just mocked up right now. So I'm going to get into the tubing here, and then we'll start building out our cab floor. This right here is what we come up with, guys, for that back wall. As you can see, it's just it's actually 1x2 steel tubing, 120 wall, and this is, like I said, going to double as it's mainly going to make our floor structure. So there'll be floor structure, and then in between this will be a thin piece, probably 1/4 inch of rubber mount to the frame. But this will be our floor structure. This will be the part that goes all the way across, that's been bent and then shaped to fit the back of the cab exactly where it meets the frame. So I'm going to build the seat floor right on top of the frame, and then once it's all said and done and I mount the cab, it's just going to come up about 1/4 inch, which is actually going to help us out in a lot of areas too. And it's not going to affect the overall look of the truck. It's still going to look the way it does. It's just going to give us that 1/4 inch in between the frame, you know, nice cushion, you know, instead of just solid mounting the body. It's going to be on rubber. And like I said, it's going to help us with some clearance issues. So I think what I'm gonna do now is, now this piece is made, and I've got quite a bit of time in this. This is gonna be a, you know, long process doing it this way. But I wanna get rid of all the wood in there, and it's all gonna be steel tubing, 120 wall tubing. And it's gonna need that for what we're doing, you know, the power we're doing. And I want, you know, once I set the gaps on the doors and everything, and the windows, you know, I want them to be where, you know, it's not gonna move much. You know, we don't have a prayer if we leave wood in it. It's just gonna flex like crazy, and be pretty wild to leave wood in it, honestly. So here's our first piece. Like I said, I've got quite a few hours in making this to fit perfectly, and I'll bring you guys along and show you that. And this is gonna go in, and it's gonna get stitch welded up here, which you'll see, to the cab. And then once all the floor structure's in and the cab is nice and solid, the cab will come back off the frame and get tilted forward or flipped upside down. I don't know yet, maybe on rotisserie, flip it over. And then the bottom seam of that cab where we cut it is gonna get welded all the way across this, to where basically this is gonna become part of the cab for a lot of strength. And also where we body dropped it, it's gonna give all that area strength where it's not wavy, it's not, you know, constantly moving and flexing, all that stuff. So this is all the stuff, you know, parts of building a truck, or building a custom car, period. So I'm gonna move the camera around, get you guys in there so you guys can see how this thing fits and where it's gonna get welded in, and then I'll start working on the rest of the framework. So here's that piece in the back of the cab here, and as you can see, it fits really good and flush. It's sitting flat down on our frame, which eventually will be a, the mount will probably be up here, but it all needs to be built on the same plane so it all matches. But so I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna put a couple stitch welds through here, you know, clamp it and stitch weld some of that for structure. And then on the bottom side, I know you guys can't see and it'd be hard to get the camera in there now, but it is flush across. So once this cab is strengthened up good and I take it off for final welding, I'll weld all the way across the back underneath here and metal finish it to where this piece here is just pretty much gonna be part of this cab all the way around. And then here, once this wood comes out, that'll be a good contact point here to weld up my this pillar that I'm gonna build all the way up. It'll come all the way up over, hoop, and replace all that wood that's right there, all the way around. And then there'll be a bar that comes here, around. It's actually probably right down here, all the way around. And we'll weld these holes up. These holes will get welded up too, where the wood structure was before. And there won't be any wood structure anymore. It'll be the steel across the back for strength and for safety as well. So put the camera down now, I guess, and I'm gonna get in here and stitch weld this piece in, get it in there locked in, so I can start building these pieces here that go towards the front here. So yeah, it's gonna work out good. All right, guys, as you can tell, I skipped ahead quite a bit here. A lot of this stuff was just kind of really time consuming and monotonous here, but you can tell that I've got a whole bunch of floor going on back here. These stitch welds here that I put in, they're just temporary to where once we get the floor in, I can take the cab off, get it flipped over and do the welding on the bottom. Then I'm gonna weld all the way across the very bottom, which I'll show you guys that in the, you know, the coming videos. But this here is just to hold on to the cab for now. I've got it locked down good in the corners too. But this welding here is just to hold it for now. And then obviously bend up these pieces here. Those are mounts right there, which are going to open up a little bit more. But right now, it's at least I can sink a bolt in there on each, you know, side, hold it where I want it to be, and you know, keep going from there. A couple braces here, way out of the way for everything that's going to go through. But this is going to work out really good. You know, next up is going to be, I'm gonna get the firewall out, and it was the big deal whether I was gonna, you know, just buy a firewall that's already recessed or not. I don't think I'm going to. The factory one, it's already, you know, cut up a lot. I'll show you. It's got a bunch of big holes people cut already. So I think I'm just gonna work off of that, so I can cut it way open where I need it to be for the engine, and start kind of getting it screwed in, at least so I have reference, because I'm gonna come in and start building my floor pieces that connect to the cowl and the firewall. And then after that, that's the next step. And then after that, I'm going to take this roof skin off, and we're gonna make this cab probably about 2 inches wider, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches. We'll see when we get there. But it's where this, you know, this engine actually, there's more room up here than I thought there was gonna be. It don't have to be recessed that much, but once I bring the whole cab forward, that's going to do a few things for us. First off, I don't like the grill, how far it sits back. I'm going to move the grill quite a bit farther forward, and then that'll bring everything forward, our hood, everything. And also, I don't need as much room in the back. I'm set the engine back, but I'm going to need more room in the front for a radiator and more than likely our intercooler and that kind of stuff. So either way, I know it's a lot of talking, a lot of you know, figuring things out, but that's what you get on these projects, at least for sure at this point here. A lot of figure things out, engineering, how things are going to work, trying to really think ahead of where things are going to be on everything. So that's kind of what, you know, where the stage we're at now. But I'm really happy with all this back here. It's nice and flat, straight. The cab is exactly where I wanted. I moved the cab back. This cab would have been forward factory, and there would have been a bigger gap here, but I'm moving it all the way back. You know, the bed is bolted down too, in 2 locations to hold it, you know, square and all that kind of stuff where it's going to be. And then that gap is nice and tight where I want it. So now, you know, like I said, I'm going to cut it and bring it forward to where it should be also, and then we'll make up the difference in here, because I'm tubing it and building rockers and roof. It already needs modified a lot already, so might as well get that little bit of space extra in there also, and get that gap back there nice and tight, and also it'll look better up here on the front. So I'm I'm gonna throw you guys on the time lapse. I think I'm gonna get the firewall dug out. I think that's the next step I'm gonna go to, because I've got my front rails and everything ready. I left them long because I don't know exactly how far this is gonna come, and then I'll just cut them after the fact, you know, where they need to be to lock into the firewall, and we'll go from there. Exciting stuff, guys. All right, guys, I got the firewall cut out, as you can tell. I know it looks excessive and we don't need a hole nearly this big, but the issue is I just come out as far as I needed to for it to be flat because there was a bunch of dips and, you know, big holes and stuff in the factory firewall. And we don't want all that stuff. I want it to be nice and flat. So I put it right back where it was, and I know where it was supposed to be because of all my holes from drilling it out. So got it clamped into place. I'm going to put some self-tappers in here to hold this where it needs to be for the time being. As I said, we'll split it and the whole thing's gonna come forward. But what this is gonna allow me to do is a couple things. Obviously, I can get a visual of, where, how far back the engine's gonna be, for one, in the, into the cab area. And right now, from this area here, flush in the back, it's actually not in there at all. Obviously, it's recessed from this plane, but from back here, it's not sitting into the compartment, the passenger compartment at all. It's flat. So I think the goal is going to be, and we're also really close on this primary, this header here. So I think I can come forward a good 1.5 inches, 2 inches with the cab face, and then that'll still be, we'll still be able to get in there and work. But down the line, I've already kind of thought ahead if we've got to work on anything really in depth as far as like engine or trans or anything like that, we'll just pull the cab. There's going to be 6 bolts holding the cab on that will be accessible from up top. So we'll just, if it comes down to it and we need to work on it, anything in depth like that, we'll just pull the cab off of it. So not only that, a lot of the newer cars, obviously the engine sets under the cowl quite a bit, and that's just, we're trying to do a lot here with not much space. So there's gonna be areas that are gonna be tight, stuff like that. So, but yeah, so now we got a visual on this. I'm gonna put some screws, some self-tappers to hold this firewall to our cowl section exactly where it needs to be. And then the cool thing is now, we can put that filler panel back in here if we want to. Don't really need to, but just to get a visual. And then our next step is going to be to, I'll have to really think about it, but I think we're going to go ahead and split the cab and bring it forward and start mocking it up. As you can tell, our, like I said, our floor tubing is up here. We can move it forward and then start building our braces that are going to go in the back side of the cowl to tie into our floor. And then once that's done, our cab is pretty much solid as far as the floor. It can be taken off and on, whatever. It's mounted then. Then we'll go on to tubing the rest of where all of our wood is at, our hoop, and our rear cab support, and all that stuff. So yeah, just seeing this one piece in there actually looks really, really cool. So And then obviously we'll come in and we'll put, you know, panels wherever we want to. Once that time comes, we'll block this in more where we want to. But right now having the access is great. And then also, like I said, it needed cut out anyways because right here it dipped way in and had all kinds of crazy, you know, curvature to it. So screw gun, pop this in, and then I'll pick you guys up here in a little bit once I decide how we're going to do this completely. Cut it forward and move it, you know, we'll go from there. So I got these self-tappers in there holding this firewall nice and tight. And I went and pulled the roof skin off. It was just sitting on there for mock-up. And there's some, I'll bring you guys in close so you can see this, but there's some L brackets here. They're just bolted to the back of the cab and to this wooden roof support. All I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take these bolts out, measure, I'm gonna go 1.5 inches. That's how much we're gonna stretch it. After doing a bunch of measurements, that's what we're gonna do, 1.5 inches. So I'll be able to use this wood to mock this top up. So I'm gonna take this bolt out, slide this forward on each side, and put a screw in this to hold it up here where it goes. And then the bottom, I'm gonna cut it loose too, spread it, and then we'll put self-tapping screws with a bracket that I made down there to hold it for now, just so we can start visualizing everything, check everything we can to make sure there's no interference anywhere. And then we'll put our roof skin back on it to see what that's gonna look like. And go from there as far as getting everything, our front floor support, you know, built and all that stuff put in there, and then you know, just keep working at it. So I'm gonna bring you guys in close, show you this right here real quick, and then I'm gonna go to unbolting this and get this moved forward. Okay, so here's this area. This is bolted. I'm gonna leave this here. All there is a through bolt all the way through here. I'm gonna take this out, and that's gonna allow me to move this forward on both sides 1.5 inches, and then sink a screw back through here to hold it, the top. And then on the bottom, it's hard to tell, but I've got a bracket in here now. This is self-tapping screw through the bracket. So after I get the top where I want it, I'm going to take this screw out, take the bracket out, cut this, and then this will go right back in the back bracket. You'll see, but I'll put this right back in the bracket, and then I'll have 1.5 inch gap here, and I'll sink my other screw here to hold it exactly where we need to go. And that'll kind of hold everything where it needs to go for right now until I get in there and decide what we're going to do about this, the whole rocker. Well, that went about as good as it could go. This moved exactly what I thought it would here. 1.5 inches over, sunk 2 screws in it to hold it, both sides. And then I just split that rocker, like I was saying, and put 4 screws into it on each side to hold it. And it moved 1.5 inches. Both door openings are completely equal on each side, and this is exactly what I was wanting. You step back, you can't really tell that it was done, which is, you know, I like subtle. I don't want it to look like, you know, you moved it like crazy. So really subtle move, but it helped it out a lot. I even, you know, call me crazy, but a lot of people might not agree, but I like the engine kind of tucked a little bit back in the firewall some. You know, I don't need to see it completely all hanging out there in the engine bay. I like it. I think it looks more performance, more tough. I don't know, but I've just gotten used to, I guess, looking at stuff that the engine's a little bit tucked more. So I like the look of it on the firewall. I'll show you guys that close up, but this is going to work for me. Moving 1.5 inches, it definitely did it. It's nice and snug right now, so we can work on it. As far as getting the front floor made, you know, the brackets and everything welded to the couch where the front is nice, and right now it still can move, and it's, you know, not really solid at all on the front. The back is, but I'm gonna go ahead and make these pieces for the front, get those in there solid, and then just keep taking this thing step by step, and you know, just keep working it. So I will bring you guys close up on the front real quick, show you how the engine's a little tucked in there better, and then I'm gonna move on to making these front floor braces from there. All right, guys. So it went from, you know, obviously it moved 1.5 inches. We know that. So moved back in 1.5 inches. It's still not crazy tucked. I know it kind of looks like it on camera, but it's really not, especially whenever I come in here and I'm going to, you know, recess that to where I'll really be able to get back in here still to be able to, you know, work on anything I might need to. And obviously that intake is not staying on it. It's going to get a fabricated sheet metal intake, which will be lower in the back, but probably about that high in the front. So that'll work out for what I want to do as well. You know, give me clearance back there, but come up. So this is definitely gonna work. We're going in the right direction for sure here. I am gonna throw a makeshift piece of wood in there and kind of sit in there to see how it feels now that I'm kind of moving along with it as far as footwell room and stuff like that. But either way, I'm gonna get to making some of these front tube pieces here to go in here so we can get this front locked in and just keep moving. So this is what I come up with up here in the front. This here, and that it don't really show it in the camera, but that's really tied up against that cowl, the body itself, which we're probably going to use some panel bond up in this area here. I don't want to weld or anything on that part of the body, so I'm going to use some panel bond, mainly just to keep the body to the frame there. But once we put our rockers in here, you'll see how I'm going to tie all that in to actually solid mount. But this is turning out awesome the way I was, kind of envisioning it. So I'm just going to put my helmet back down, get on making this piece over here to make identical over there. Let me bring you guys over here, maybe a different view. I'm going to leave this roof off from now, I think, too, because I get a lot more light. So, but yeah, that's going to be that there. And this clamp is just holding a small piece of tube there to, basically mimic whenever I make this piece up, making clearance for that there, because it's going to weld solid to there, which I know that might be kind of confusing, but once I get to it, you guys will be able to see better. So yeah, this will be all tube all the way up, just like that. It's gonna be pretty cool. So I'm gonna get on now to doing this side, make it identical, and then I'll bring you guys back in. Got that side over there, all fabbed up, welded in, metal finish. Same with this side here. So that's gonna work out really good. I've got a lot more bracing that's gonna go in here. I just think I'm about out of time to work on this thing for a little bit. I have a few other obligations to get done around the shop, which you guys will be seeing videos of that as well. But yeah, so that, really happy with that. And this here fits the cow really good. Give it some structure, and we're moving right along with this thing. All right, guys, that brings an end to this video on the 31. It's been a long, this section all week working on this thing every day. Lots of fab, lots of just sparks and all the fun stuff, lots of dirt. But it's a necessity to get these things, the way we want them. But I went in, threw the roof skin back on just because I wanted to see what it was going to look like. It's going to sit for probably a week while I work on other stuff. So I'd rather put the parts with it and look at it like that, around the shop, than look at it in a bunch of pieces. So I also threw in the cowl to see what it's going to look like. And I can really tell now, I really dig the way that engine's set back in there some. And the gap across the whole roof, that 1.5 inches, is perfect where it needs to be. So really you can tell from here that it's a pretty subtle stretch, but it feels more than 1.5 inches when you're sitting in there, foot room. I can stretch my feet all the way out, and I'm about 5'9", which, is average height, but and the owner, he's about the same height as me, so it should be good. But I can stretch my feet all the way out and sit back, so it should be decent. Obviously it's cramped, width-wise for the pedals and stuff like that. It's going to be not the greatest, but that's kind of what you get into with this kind of stuff is, these Model A builds and stuff like that, is you're really cramped for space in certain areas, and that's why we really wanted to go standard shift. We're not going to go standard shift. I don't see anywhere to be able to put a clutch pedal and be able to drive it with the power it's going to have and all that stuff. So but I'm really happy with the progress so far. I've got a bunch more tubing to order to continue. We're going to go in the next video. We're going to go doing the halo in the front and rear, and then we have one roof support to make, which will be the halo up over, and then the cab support on the back, and then build our rocker from there. And then we'll probably think about maybe pulling the cab off to do all the welding on the bottom side. And then we'll put the cab back on with the rubber mounts. And actually I might solid mount. I don't know, either way they're gonna get mounted. The cab's gonna be mounted after that, like solid. And then then we'll start building the floor pan, you know, the sheet metal part of it. So if you guys are digging this, man, let me know in the comments. I'm really digging it. I know the owner of the truck is really digging it. I think it's gonna be just every little thing we're doing to it's looking more and more killer. Really pumped about it. So leave me a comment if you guys got some ideas. If you see some stuff that, you know, might need to be addressed now that I'm not thinking about, let me know. And you know, I appreciate everybody watching, and give me a like, subscribe. We're coming up on 1,000 subscribers. I'd like to do something as far as a giveaway. I know that's pretty popular. I'd like to do a giveaway of some sort. I just don't know what to do or how to do it, but I know that's going to be a milestone for the channels to hit 1,000. We're really close. So yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I'll probably be back in a week or two, a couple weeks with a video on this, and then next week I'll be putting out a video on another project. So I appreciate it, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.